Hello and welcome to the pre-show show where we're going to be taking you through what's going to be happening in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Who am I? My name is Guy and I'm from the YouTube channel How to Be a Great GM. So if you are unfamiliar with the process that we're going to be going through, we're going to be going through the Ghosts of Saltmarsh live play in about half an hour. But until we do, I'm going to spend some time with you giving you spoilers for the show. That's right. I'm going to be giving you spoilers for the actual game. Now, why am I going to be doing this? Well, the entire focus of How to Be a Great GM is on improving our game and making our game better. And a lot of people find it very beneficial to watch the pre-game show and the post-game show Below Decks, which is going to happen after the show, because I tell you and talk to you about my plans for the session as the Dungeon Master. I look at what I'm going to be doing for the session, what I hope to achieve for the session, what I need to achieve for the session, and then we can watch the show as the show goes through. You can see what I was hoping to do, realize that I didn't get there, or did get there for that matter, and then afterwards we can unpack it in a Q&A where you say, well, you planned on doing this, the characters did that, how did you compensate, how do you bring them back to where you wanted it to be on the show? So that's the idea of the pre-game show. So if you are new to that, welcome to the pre-game show. Now let's kick off. I'm going to take you through some stuff. Like I said, this contains spoilers. This contains spoilers for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh adventure book. It contains spoilers for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh Call of the Kraken live play, which is happening, as I said, in about 28 minutes from now. So if you are going to watch that and you don't want spoilers, goodbye. We'll see you again in half an hour. Do you remember to come back and watch the show itself? Right, let's go into what is planned for the show today. It is our first show, so as a result of it being our first show, and it's one of 12, by the way, and that's an important thing. Timing, when it comes to planning your campaigns, when it comes to planning your adventures, is very important. And what we need to look at then is, how do we break down those 12 shows, or the 12 gaming sessions in your case, how do we break that down into something that's usable and something that's going to create a memorable experience? Now, under certain circumstances, you might be saying, well, I'm not going to have 12 episodes, I'm going to have 50. It doesn't matter how long my campaign runs for. That's absolutely fine and absolutely brilliant. However, having a game plan based on how long you think your game sessions are going to run for is a good thing. 12 episodes is actually, or 12 sessions anyway, is actually a pretty good run to get into the flow of being a game master if you're new to the entire idea of being a game master. So that is something that you can maybe think about. Now, I've got an outline, I should say, which I'm just going to open up here and I'm going to share with you shortly. And that outline is what I have planned for the session. So like I said, spoilers beware. They are going to be happening. This is the plan. This is the plan. Sorry, I'm just looking at my overlay, realizing I am in the wrong place. I'm just going to move myself over to this way, and boom, there you go. That's what you've got.
Okay,
this is the entire plan for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Now, if you've been following on my channel, How to Be a Great GM, you will see that I've done a couple episodes where I dedicated the episodes to how did I come up with this plan. I'm not going to go through that here because, well, it takes quite a bit of time to come up with a plan like this. It takes at least 25 minutes of beforehand.
Usually it'll sound like me crashing into my mic.
It takes 20 minutes to fill it in, and it's not that difficult if you follow through the natural processes. So let's have a look here. What have we got? We've got our very first episode, our very first show, which is number 1, under the Getting Stuff category. Now, the important thing to bear in mind is that the process that I take on the YouTube channel anyway, and how I create my games and how I bring my games to life, is that I look at it in a series of 4 categories. You've got
Are you going to join us
getting
in
stuff,
Fantasy
building
Ground?
stuff, testing stuff, and
Yes,
realizing
I
the
believe
goal.
I just-
Now, whether this applies to the heroes or whether it applies to the nemesis of the
I am there.
campaign is entirely on how you build your
Yay!
stories and you build your narrative.
And
But generally speaking,
awesome.
this is the
Van
flow
Herten's
that
in
we
that
go
place.
through
Badass.
every time we are creating
Yeah,
a
they can hear us in the
campaign,
background
as
in the
well
pre-show.
as, to a
That
large
must be
degree,
trouble.
every time we're creating an
Oh,
adventure.
can they?
Oh no!
So the
Probably-
campaign,
Shut up.
in terms
Hello,
of getting
audience.
stuff, that is,
Hi,
it
audience.
could be getting information in the
We're gonna
case
shut
of the
up now.
Nemesis. It could be getting the actual artifact that they need in order to bring about world control and world damnation and that sort of thing. In the case of the players, it could be about getting information about the fact that this Nemesis even exists. So under the Getting Stuff banner, we're looking for things that are going to give us a clue as to what the entire campaign is about. So you'll see that we've got 4. You can have more, you can have less, but 4 is what I find works best. You can have 4 of these where basically you are working through introducing everybody and everything to one another. So you're introducing the heroes to your villains, you're introducing your villains to your heroes, because it is important for them to meet one another and to realize that they're both there. And why is that on? That's unusual. Okay, let's see where that's coming from. There. Okay, so craziness. Thanks for that heads up. I don't know why Discord was on. You can hear my players are obviously super excited about what's happening in the Discord discussions. Hopefully nothing bad was said. I'm just busy looking over there. Hopefully that's now solved, so let us know if that is the case. Okay. Hopefully they weren't so loud that you couldn't hear what I was saying. If I have to go back and repeat, let me know. Let me know. Right, so with that sort of solved, in our first 4 steps, we're running through the Ghosts of Saltmarsh adventure book, which of course is packed full of adventures, really awesome adventures, which are a lot of fun. And when I was commissioned to run this series, I went, okay, well, there are 8 adventures in there that they're just mega adventures in there. And we need to make sure that there are, there's time to run through all of that. There is not enough time to run through 8 adventures in 12 sessions. Each adventure, if you like, could take somewhere between 2 and 4 sessions just to get through. So 8 adventures, definitely not going to happen in 12 episodes. Now, what we then needed to do was to choose the ones that we felt were going to fit with our campaign, and to choose ones that we felt were going to fit within the theme of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Now, another important aspect was when we were deciding on what the story was going to be, I was working with the guys from Dungeons and Dragons, and I was saying, does it have to be set in the Greyhawk setting? Does it need to be set in those spaces where in pre-existing worlds? And the answer was an emphatic no, it does not. And in the book it says this can be set anywhere. It really can be set anywhere. So you don't need to worry about, settings and stuff. So we said, great, we're going to come up with our own setting and drop Saltmarsh in there, and we're going to utilize that. Again, just to show the excessive, I would say, amount of data and information that you're given. It's so much stuff. You kind of go, okay, I've got to pick and I've got to choose. So what I chose to focus on in terms of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh is right up at the beginning. They start to talk about various alliances. Now, the Danger at Dunwater adventure is a major alliance building adventure that happens. It's the second adventure that's presented in the book, and that talks about building an alliance with the lizard folk, and it's all about the primary enemy, which is the Sahugin or the Sahaugen, however you want to pronounce it. It's all about their invasion of Saltmarsh. I did warn you there were spoilers. So the idea here is that, okay, so if that is the case, then we need to look at that. Now, in the book, it also refers to the Scarlet Brotherhood, who are this evil, corrupting influence who are trying desperately to basically take over the whole world, really, not just Saltmarsh. I looked at that and I said, that for me is really exciting and it's really cool, and it gives us a little window into the very complex nature of Saltmarsh of the setting. The adventures that come with it are absolutely beautifully done, and we're going to go through 3 of those, as you can see in my plan. We've got Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, we've got Lizard Alliance, which is the Danger at Dunwater, and then we've got the Sahuagin Adventure, which is that the final, I think it's called the Final Enemy. Now, those are the 3 that we're going to be focusing on. But one of the things that I said was, it's kind of nautical. That's the big thing. So that means we want to include aquatic stuff. We want to include things that are happening under the water. So we need to have an adventure that goes in under the water. Our big MacGuffin for the entire campaign, and by MacGuffin I mean the motivator as to why this is happening, I firmly believe that you always need to have a reason. Why are we watching? Why are we stepping into the campaign world now? Why not last week? Or why not next month? What happens now that's absolutely critical for us to enter into this space? So what happens in the setting is you're going to see the black tide. And yes, I have pulled that directly from an 80s or mid-90s animated show called The Pirates of Blackwater. It was a very bizarre kind of animated series. Blackwater was this weird substance type of thing. Anyway, the black tide is this current. It's an underwater current of necromantic power. So everything that dies in the ocean, it dies, it contributes to the black tide. But the black tide is spread out all over the ocean. There's creatures dying and drowning all over the place. So every now and again, the currents all come together. They all converge. And when they converge, they form a black tide. So when all of the necromantic energy converges, it forms the black tide, which is once every 100 years. And this black tide then washes around the oceans, resurrecting and creating random undead monsters and liches and the like that, well, basically just cause havoc. But they only last for 60 days. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, well, why don't you make it last for 30 days, which is the cycle of the moon, and it feels a little bit more natural. 30 days is a very short time period when you're dealing with sailing ships. Ghosts of Saltmarsh gives us mechanics for fighting on the sea, for sailing ships, and for how far and how fast they can travel. If I gave my characters a 30-day window period in which to operate, it would put them under a huge amount of pressure to act against the black tide instantly. That pressure is going to detract them from wanting to explore their own backstories, their own character stories, which is the bulk of where our narrative comes from. It's the bulk of where our story for our game comes from. We don't want to do that. So by giving them 60 days, by giving them 2 months, it allows them to say, all right, well, we've done this, we've done that, we've still got 45 days left before we have to do whatever it is that we have to do. Okay, I'm going to go and speak to my mum or my dad, or I'm going to go and explore my tragic backstory where my parents were killed and my orphanage burnt down and I had to survive on the streets on my own. Whatever their backstories, we're going to explore that. So if we go back to the plotter there, and this plotter, by the way, you can grab it from www.greatgamemaster.com. The template's there. It is available free to download. It just allows you to plot out your entire campaign easily. If you look there, I have got some involvements. I've got under Getting Stuff, number 4. Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, establish the Sahuagin involvement, the Black Tide. That is a catch-all. It's one of those adventure periods where I would call them an aha adventure. It's to make sure that the players are on track in terms of what the bigger plot is, that they kind of know where they're going, that they have a goal. I feel that player characters always need to have a goal, and when they don't have a goal, that's when you get people sitting around the table going, I go shopping, I don't know what to do. You don't want that. So you always want them to have a goal. So item number 4 of Getting Stuff is an aha moment. It is also a possible period where the characters can interact in terms of finding out about their own personal histories. We can build on personal backstories and the like. And then if you have a look later on under building it, where we've got the aquatic adventure, I've literally put in there PC background, for at least 2 sessions. Now, the sessions are only 2 hours long, so they're not even officially the right length. And by right length, there is no official length. Of course, 3 to 4 hours is generally speaking what people aim for. Nonetheless, they're 2 hours each, so there's not a lot of time to explore stuff. So I'm going to be quite heavy-handed in terms of what the player's decision-making process needs to do. And of course, because we are putting on a show, I'm not sharing any of this with my players, by the way. They're banned from watching the pre-show. They're not allowed to watch the pre-show because of the spoilers that are coming out. So the idea is that you want the players to move forward. You want the story to move forward. Now, whether this is a 12 episode or 12 gaming session that you're running, or 24 sessions that you're running, or 48, or it doesn't really matter how many it might be, this is your standard plot. Now, we then go into the discovering of the Lich's plans, and then we go into the Sahuagin adventure at the very end, where we then go to that climax, that battle. You'll see I've left out some pieces under testing stuff and under realizing goals. Now, the reason for that is I just don't have enough shows. What I will also be able to do with this plotter that I have here, the plot outlines, is that I will be able to track and go, okay, we're ahead of schedule. The players were very sharp in working out the sinister secret of Saltmarsh because it's such a classic adventure. They went through that in 1 session. Great. I have an extra session in hand to then develop character, to go and look into their backstories and to bring stuff in. Each of the players has given me great backstory material to work with. There are looking for lost loved ones. There is ran away from home, parents very powerful. There's a whole lot of different stories that are going on. There's even a transgender process that's happened. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff for us to explore. We don't really have that much time because by the end of the 12 episodes, we want to wrap up the main plot, the call of the Kraken. What is the Kraken? So we've got to resolve that whole thing. So that's the plot in very broad strokes kind of space. And when you look at that, you go, well, that's not particularly complicated. That doesn't seem like, it's going to take very long to go through. And you go, well, yes, it hasn't yet been touched by the players. The players are going to bring their own approach to this. They might slaughter all of the lizard folk, in which case then I'm going, okay, you can make an alliance with the orcs or with the dwarves or however you want to play it. So that is entirely at the purview of the players. I will not attempt to control them in any way. All that I'm doing with the plotter is that I'm looking at it going, okay, well, this is what I need to have happen now if I want to keep on track with my overall timing, with my rhythm. So that's the idea. Whether it stands the test of the players or not is a very good question. Now, the reason why I do these is because you will now be able to watch in about 12 minutes when the show starts. You'll be able to watch the very first episode. And in that first episode, I've got to introduce the players to, if I look at my plan is sea battle. Great stuff. Aquatic races, Sahuagin, Rumours of the Lich, Saltmarsh. In 2 hours, I have to introduce all of those components to my players. Now, there are 5 components there. So what's 120 divided by 5? 9, right? 9 minutes. I'm looking at my OBS operator, the OBS goblin. I'm like, 9? Is it 9? I don't know. 9 minutes each? That's not a lot of time to go through each of these. No, it's not 9 minutes each. It's not 9. See, this is why I don't do maths. This is why I'm a dungeon master instead. It's like, oh, just make up a number. Whatever. I don't have to do the maths. Anyway, however that number works out, I'm sure there's people in the audience who can work out how many minutes 5 goes into 120. There's a part of me saying it's not. I don't know. I'm not going to get stuck on that. Moving on swiftly along. Right. So the sea battle. Why do I want to have a sea battle? Well, I like to start a campaign off with a punch. I like to start a campaign off with the players all being invested in the plot. They are going to participate in the complete campaign because I have personally attacked each and every single one of their characters. I want their characters to hate the Nemesis. The Nemesis that I'm using in this particular adventure, in this particular campaign, I call a blunt force trauma nemesis. It's a nemesis who is present all the time. Think Darth Vader. Darth Vader was always around during Star Wars. Always attacking, always being a dark threat, always being there. Whereas the Emperor was a background kind of nemesis, sort of plotting from behind. We didn't really know about the Emperor until the third movie. So my primary nemesis is this Lich Commodore Gankari, and Commodore Gankari is going to be trying to destroy Saltmarsh in a vengeance act. The players will learn about his vengeance act maybe by the time we get to the end of episode 3. Remember, the first 4 episodes is gathering information. So I've got to introduce them to the sea battle. I've got to introduce them to Gankari so that they are introduced to this Lich. I've got to introduce them to the Sahuagin. I've got to introduce them to aquatic races. Now, my players have elected to play a variety of aquatic races. If you haven't seen the social media stuff going out, we've got a mermaid, we've got an aquatic elf, we have a seabold, which is basically an aquatic kobold, we have a sharkan. The sharkan is shark people. So we've got those 4 races, as well as then we have a human, and then a very diverse crew of various bits and pieces. If you haven't yet seen this, head on over to greatgamemaster.com, where there is a treasure hunt going on, as well as you can sign up to join the crew. You enter in the details of an NPC, we get the NPC data, and then as I need NPCs to crew the Second Chance, the MHS Second Chance, that's the ship that the characters own, I will be pulling from that. So if you want to add an NPC into the mix, head on over there and create an NPC. We've got some interesting NPCs coming through already. We've got lizard folk, we've got half-elves, we've got humans, I've got a Scot, we've got kobolds, we've got Warforged, it's just an amazing mess of things. The benefit of making your own homebrewed setting, of course, is that you go, well, yeah, of course we got Warforged, of course we got tieflings, bring your halflings, bring your half-elves, let's get all together and let's get nasty. That is, in a nutshell, where we are currently sitting in terms of First Adventure. So First Adventure, we're starting with a sea battle. We're going to introduce the characters to a lot of concepts and things. They're going to look roughly, they're going to get their sea legs in terms of how does their ship work. And then they're going to get to Saltmarsh. Now, Saltmarsh is absolutely staggering. It's absolutely mind-blowing what the guys at WotC have done. And I'm not saying that because they've done such a great job. I'm saying that because when you look at the map of Saltmarsh, this map, this map, as it comes up now, this map, I have recreated Saltmarsh. So we took Saltmarsh and we said, okay, great, that's Saltmarsh. This is now our version of Saltmarsh as per our setting in terms of how do we now take it and how do we now move it forward in terms of the bigger plot that we're trying to drive. So although Saltmarsh is presented in the book, we said, okay, cool, we're taking that and we're making it bigger. It's not that much bigger, as a matter of fact. And if you've got the book Ghosts of Saltmarsh, you'll see the map. You go, oh, I know exactly what that is. We just enhanced a little bit of a few bits and pieces, and I moved some stuff around. So the empty nest, for example, I'm not going to keep this hovering over these for too long because those are my notes, my GM notes. I'm in World Anvil, by the way, worldanvil.com. I've loaded the map up and I can create all of these different pins, which have got all my little notes highlighted and ready to remind me, oh, yes, okay, so these are these people. Nonetheless, I've kept some locations as they were in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, but I have moved a few things around. And because the entire campaign is now focused around the beginnings of the Scarlet Brotherhood, the beginnings of the sense that there's a bigger conflict going on, what I did was I replaced a lot of the rather location unique or the location specific stuff with my own stuff. So the dwarves no longer have a mining concern in town. The dwarves now have this embassy. And the embassy is still run by Ministrad Copperlocks, but she's now an ambassador rather than just the dwarvish mining concern operator. The Eutz individuals. I have changed now to the Gnomish Embassy and Alchemy Lab. So I added in a new character, Grand Ambassador Tabisio Granthwick, at your service. Just don't step over there because it will explode. So we've changed some things around. We've added in these embassies because I want the PCs to be building this alliance. They're going to be integral to it. They're not going to be doing it themselves. They're only starting off at level 1. But as the adventures go on, they're going to level up, they're going to get high level, and they're going to get more influential as time goes on. Now, so in order to, I needed to do that. I needed to have some embassies in there so that we can have some tensions both above and below. Now, what was interesting was once we added the Sharkan people, I went back to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh map, and there's a bridge called the Old Sharkfin Bridge. The Old Sharkfin Bridge, there it goes. But the Sharkan, the shark people, have been complaining against the name the Old Sharkfin Bridge as they felt that it wasn't representative and culturally inclusive by naming it the Old Sharkfin Bridge, which is where shark fins used to be hung from to be dried by the local fish market, which is still where it should be. Yeah, so there we go. That's what I have done in terms of that kind of prep. In terms of my world, in terms of my setting, this is my setting. I'm still now in World Anvil with all of the pins and things. The map was made by Caeora. Beautiful, beautiful map based on some sketches that I did. I mean, the detailing, this isn't even at the highest quality. The detailing is perfect. And then... you know, we've loaded up pins in terms of what do these things do, brief descriptions just to remind myself as the players are moving around. Now, remember I was talking about time and 30 days not being long enough. This is my Azure Sea. And my Azure Sea, I've encircled so that the players are not inspired to leave and go and explore elsewhere. I want them to stay here. Now, there is a certain amount of pressure from my players because they're producing a show for Dungeons & Dragons, so they're going to try and stay on track as best they can. That's an advantage that I have that you might not have. So by creating a map that literally creates this is your space to play in and go out of it, and, well, you can go out of it because your players, you can go where you will. But this allows us to refocus, and it gives us spaces for where the Sharkan are based, for where the merfolk are based, for where the sea bolds are coming from, where the aquatic elves come from, although in my world the aquatic elves live on giant floating islands, so they don't really have territory. But anyway, it gives us this space. We've got the elves in the south. Now the dwarves have a location here at Canbar. It's a dwarvish city, connected via the river down to Saltmarsh, of course. And that's why the dwarves are now represented in the Azure Sea. It's very important to realize that a lot of conflict happens in our own world because of access to the sea. Most historical great battles of ancient Greece and the like, a lot of them were fought around if you had access to the ocean or not. Ocean opens up trade. Trade brings in money. Money is what you are after. So this is our Azure Sea. I made some badges just to sort of represent the different races that are involved. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's 250 miles to the scale. So at best, that puts Saltmarsh from Meros 500 miles away. Now, Wizards of the Coast has included in the manual, I'm just going to open it up here because I've forgotten, I think the average sailing speed is about 120 miles a day. So from Saltmarsh to Meros at 120 miles a day, you're looking at 4 or 5 days just to travel from Saltmarsh to Meros. So if the PCs are going to go Saltmarsh, Meros, back to Saltmarsh, that's 10 days out of their original, out of their 30. That's gone just in one voyage. Giving them 60 days, now it's not so bad. So those are kind of considerations that one takes into account. Anyway, that's enough from me. It's time for us to roll some dice, get some gaming on. You heard at the beginning of the show, because it's me. If you don't know me, I'm not great with technicals. So I've got an assistant here, the OBS Goblin. He's making sure that everything's going to go right. The audio thing was on me. So yeah, we'll catch you in a couple minutes for the Ghosts of Saltmarsh live play. After that, we're going to be going below decks, where we hang out with the cast and crew, but that will be on the Great GM Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/GreatGM. That will happen 10 minutes after the live show, where you can chat to the cast and to myself and get the lowdown on what went right and what went wrong. So until then,
We fought them in the air, on land, and under the waves. But it wasn't enough. Brave folk banded together, united in hope and allied in goal. But it wasn't enough. The Black Tide brought with it an evil of terrible power. Darkness sank into the hearts of us all. For we knew, as above in the skies we lost, so on land we'd lose. And our only hope was below. But it wasn't enough. Forces unknown to us were at work, and in those dark days it found purchase wherever it touched. For our best wasn't enough. And yet, a single light burns in the dark night, and it might be enough.
Hello and welcome to the Ghosts of Saltmarsh Call of the Kraken. My name is Guy and I'm from How to Be a Great GM. I am joined by some lovely people, but first let me say Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. It is very nice to have our viewers join us all the way from Europe and from Germany, and that leads us straight to Mhaire. Mhaire, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who you are and then a little bit about who you are playing.
Hi, I'm Mhaire Stritter, and I'm from Germany, obviously. And I'm an author, and I'm also a YouTuber, and I'm part of a two-person team who runs the YouTube channel and also the Twitch channel Orkenspalter TV, which is quite a mouthful. We've been doing this for 10 years, and we do reviews, we do actual plays for tabletop role-playing games, but we also do comics and other stuff, and anything that interests us and kind of fits into the whole thing. And yeah, you can find us on YouTube and recently also on Twitch. And I'm playing Indigo Diomedea, who is an aquatic elf. And they are a little bit different than other elves. And they have cities that float on the water, and they have quite a different outlook on life than most other races and also as most elves. So be prepared for her being a little bit weird. She's also the druid, which adds to the weirdness, I think.
Absolutely. Lovely. Then from Sweden, we have Jenny. How are you doing, Jenny?
Hi, I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. Tell us a little bit about who you're playing, who are you, and what can we expect from your character?
Well, I'm Jenny. I live in Sweden, and I come from Guy's Windswift campaign on his YouTube, which is all I've done, really, ever. And I'm going to be playing Captain Victor Salt, who is the gruff owner of the ship, ocean dad to all of these misfits.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, rough. Captain Salt. I look forward to seeing Captain Salt. Let's put it that way. I'm just going through the screens now, and we've got Janet from the UK. Janet, who are you going to be playing, and who are you?
In that order. Okay, so I am going to be playing a mermaid paladin, of Elise, which is one of the gods in Guy's Braxia world. And she is punny and high energy and fun-loving, and she just wants to be your friend. She's got a little bit of baggage, but you know, mainly she just wants to hang out and have fun, and do some silly stuff. And I am Janet. I am a writer. I've been playing role-playing games since I was 11. I'm also a purveyor of world-building advice on the World Anvil YouTube channel, and talk about bearing the lead, I'm the director of World Anvil, which is the world-building platform and campaign manager.
Right, there we go. Absolutely lovely. Thank you. Linked to that is Caeora. How are you doing from the UK? Tell us who you are, and then tell us who your character is, in that order.
Hi, yes, my name is Caeora. I am a map maker. The big, main, beautiful map that I made for the stream, I think Guy has already showed the stream, so that's cool. I made that. And yeah, that's what I do. That's my day job, making maps. So I don't really have much else to say on that front. I will be playing Flick, who is a little Seabold wizard. And he's a little bit different wizard. He doesn't have a spell book. He has a monster teeth necklace with draconic runes on it that he uses to cast spells. But yeah, that's who I'll be playing.
Fantastic. And then, last but not least, from down under, all the way from Australia, Michael Cassavin. Thank you for joining us, sir. Tell us who you are and whom you shall be playing.
G'day, guys. As some of you might know, my name is Michael, and I also go by the Dead Aussie Gamer. I am actually a professional game master, YouTuber, and basically advice columnist, I guess, for a whole bunch of different role-playing games now, thanks to, of course, some influences from some other very talented YouTubers and the like. You know, I won't mention any names. So that being said, I will be playing the role of Jagsy, or as his full name is, Jaggerjaw. He is a Sharkan Ranger, a kind of a humanoid great white shark, big, burly, surly-toothed, and he is actually the ship's bosun, or shipwright. So he's very much in tune with, you know, looking after the boat and making sure everything's in tip-top order. And for those who don't respect the boat, well, I guess we'll have to wait and find out what happens to them now, don't we?
There you go. All right, you've met the cast, you've met the characters. Let's get into playing some dice. But before we do that, I need to give some love out to the people who made the show happen. So Dungeons & Dragons, of course, for commissioning us to make the show. Our principal thank yous go to you. And then we've got... In terms of sponsors, we've got World Anvil, worldanvil.com. They're bringing us all of these beautiful interfaces and things. We've got Dungeon Fog, dungeonfog.com. They're bringing us all of the beautiful maps. The owner of Dungeon Fog's been handcrafting some of the maps you're going to be seeing in today's show and in subsequent weekly shows. And then, of course, we are using, as our virtual tabletop of choice, we are using Fantasy Grounds. They are doing some amazing stuff in that region of gaming, making gaming better for all gamers out there. So big thank you to our sponsors for that. Moderators are in chat, I believe, and I hope everything is technically okay. I do have a reputation for not doing so well on that. I'm busy tapping my table at the moment. It's made out of wood. Anyway, let's move forward. If you're wondering what is the lilac in the bottom corner of the screen, if you know what it's about, well, then you, sir, or madam, or orc, or whatever you happen to identify yourself as, you are well read. But also, we support the cases or cause of anti-Alzheimer's. We fight against that. Right. So that's that. The only other thing before we start, what a long intro. Good grief! 11 minutes just to explain everything and say hello. Well, there we go. The only other thing is, Mama Sarduk. Mama Sarduk has a treasure buried somewhere in the Azure Sea, and you can find it. We are going to be running a competition over the next 12 episodes, whereby there is a map you can download from www.greatgamemaster.com, and that map is a map of the Azure Sea. Now, that comes to us courtesy of our sponsors, so that map is yours to keep and use as you so choose. However, there are cryptic clues that will be given out, and those clues come from down there. Down there is where you want the clues. Each week a clue will be given out as to map coordinates, where the treasure is buried. By the end of the 12 weeks, you will have a full set of coordinates that should take you to where Mama Sarduk has buried her treasure. That treasure contains amazing, amazing prizes from Dungeons & Dragons, World Anvil, Dungeon Fog. Even Nerdarchy, good friends of mine, have given us stuff to give away. And we, of course, from Great GM will be giving away stuff as well. So go and have a look at that if you haven't. You can also join the crew of the ship if you want to. Perhaps watch the first episode before you decide to sign up. If you do sign up, again, on the same website, you can submit NPCs that will then join the crew of the MHS Second Chance. And with that, I think I have done all of my introductory duties. So let us now center ourselves and bring ourselves to role-playing. And that takes us to Fantasy Grounds, he says, changing his screen over because he forgot. And there we go. Right. The ship, the MHS Second Chance, is rocking slowly from side to side. It is a grey day. Fog has settled in about 3 days ago, and for the past 3 days it's been nothing but a fog. This murky, constant grey. There is little sound out here in the azure ocean as you slowly making your way across Bannon's Channel. We need to update the location of your ship. Your ship's not there. Your ship is here. So there we go. You are close to the port of Saltmarsh, probably about 50, 60 miles yonder as the crow flies. But the ship has been moving incredibly slowly. There is no wind to catch the sails, and she's basically just lolling from side to side. Captain Salt, what are you doing?
Considering all of this rain and mist and just complete everything is horrible and wet, and he's miserable, and he's just standing there leaning on the railing with his coffee, sort of exuding this aura of don't talk to me.
There you go. First mate, Lahuna, what are you doing?
Well, I figure that the crew could all use a good sing-song because they all seem really down with this water coming from the sky. I quite like it. You know, it's refreshing for the skin, but apparently they don't like it. So I've been trying to organize a sing-song, and I am tentatively now, as we speak, walking up.
There you go. You're going to head up to the captain to try and see if you can convince him to let you have a sing-song. That Indigo, you can see Lahuna is in one of her, I'm going to prep up everybody's moods. What are you doing?
So she turns around and goes looking for omens the other way.
Right, you are. Okay, so we just had an audio problem there. I think I've now fixed it. Okay, yes, so that's what you were doing. The captain is standing looking grim. The first officer is going up to the captain to try and inspire everybody to sing a good song. And Indigo is looking for Flotsam and Jesse. Give me a perception check, if you please, Indigo.
Yes, Indigo is going to give you a perception check, but I got a perception check in the real world right now, and it tells me that there's sound problems in the stream.
Yeah, we fixed it. Yes, hopefully.
You fixed it.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully.
My skills, perception. I'm actually good at this. Good perception. Well,
A
I rolled
natural one. A natural one to kick off the show. There we go. Famous last words. I'm good at this.
The gods have blessed us.
The gods have spoken.
the
We
mood.
expected
Or
that.
maybe even the cods.
Ah.
Hey-oh.
Dear, it starts.
beginning.
All right, so you're busy looking overboard. It's just grey water. If you were under the ocean right now, it would be a similarly murky tone as no natural light filters down from the surface. But there we are. And Shakan, our large shark individual, what are you doing?
Well, seeing as the ship seems well enough in some good nick, I reckon that I'm going to be spending most of my time in the bilge, making sure that all those tiny little things, maintenance work is kept up to snuff. Also seeing if there's any loose rats floating about.
All right, you are looking for a snack and for decent repair work, not a problem. Flick, what's Flick doing?
Flick is going to be following Jagsy, sneakily, trying to stealth it up, and I'm going to.
Pinky, go and get him. Go and get on his head and put your tentacle in his ear.
And so I send my little octopus familiar off to try and just bug Jagsy, really.
All right, give me a stealth check if you please.
Sure.
That's a great idea, bugging Jagsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go and poke the giant shark.
Just improves the mood of everyone on the ship, really. Oh.
Natural
Oh!
20, from a 1 to a natural 20. Well,
Well.
there we go. Jagsy, you were completely unaware. You can give me a perception check if you like, mate, but at a 20
I
like
don't
that,
want to.
No.
I don't want to. I'm not even going to dignify that with a roll.
you are suddenly octopied. How about that? You are octopied
God,
by the creature
by the wiggly
as its slimy little tentacles wrap around you. Captain, it's at that point that you hear the following kind of sound. Thwomp-tuck, thwomp-tuck, thwomp-tuck. Give me a history check, if you please. You
History
hear it
check.
3 times.
Okay.
History check, yeah.
No.
No, you're busy watching it. Lahuna, you heard that as well. This bizarre thwomp-tuck. Sounded quite close, but with the mist, you can't see.
Does
Can
it
I
sound
also
like
do a
it's-
history
A
check?
history check for you as well, absolutely. Indigo, you're also on the ship. You can make a roll too.
History roll.
Yep.
sound like it's coming from
not
on the
very
ship?
good at this.
No, it's definitely not coming from on the ship. It's coming from near the ship in the fog, but you can't see it. Lahuna, it reminds you of the sound of a trebuchet.
Oh. Oh.
You then hear duck, 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 duck.
But barnacles.
That reminds
Captain?
you of the sound
What?
of mangonels firing.
What is it?
I hear trouble.
Clack, 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 clack. Ballistas firing.
Can I tell which direction they're coming from?
Vaguely coming from your port side.
Okay, so at least not forwards. That's a good
Yes,
start.
Not directly in front of you, correct. Indigo, you watch as the sea suddenly starts to rough up a little bit. It's unnatural, there's no wind, but suddenly the water starts to lift the boat. Salt, you start to be aware that the boat is now starting to pitch and yaw a little bit more than it was just a few minutes ago. Below decks, Flick, you and Sharkan Jagsy are embroiled in your octopus battle when suddenly the whole ship starts to pitch and move slightly.
What's that?
That's never good.
Lahuna, what are you doing?
I'm running over to Victor. Lahuna bounds over to Victor and says, Captain, we have trouble. Port side.
Port side? Alright. Helm is us over to starboard a little bit. Let's see if we can sneak away from this one.
Right you are, says Helm. He's the little seabold named Morley. He spins the wheel as fast as he can. And there's very little change. Your sails are just flapping limply in this little breeze. But as he locks the rudder full to starboard, the ship very slowly starts to drift a little bit starboard. Again you hear thwomp, thwomp, thwomp as these trebuchets fire yet again. Trebuchet are incredibly large siege weapons. Most ships, 99% of them, don't contain trebuchet because of the severe amount of recoil and all kinds of imbalancing that happens. Mangonels are usually the heaviest weapon that they have. There is suddenly a giant wave that rocks the boat quite hard across. Indigo, because you were watching the ocean, you're starting to see flashes of lightning beneath the water. What are you doing?
I leave wherever I am right now, I guess at the raining, and run up to the captain, and I do a little bow, and then I say, "It is like a giant sea turtle fighting under the seas. If we want to flee, I don't know where to go. It should be up."
You realize we can't go up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. All right, I'm just checking. I'm not entirely sure about you.
Your ships can't go up, I know.
No, that's right.
Captain, says
What?
Morley from the helm.
What? What?
You might want to look up and duck. I need the three of you to give me dexterity saving throws, if you please.
Okay.
No. You're like, what duck? What duck? I don't see any ducks.
I am the duck.
Those were some good rolls.
Indigo, have you got a dex save for me? Oh, I did see you there. Sorry. 4, 7, 3. Combined, you fail. There's a general clustering of running around each other, and there is a Pegasus that is currently spiraling down towards the hull of the ship. There is this young human riding on board it, looking between slight terror and maniacal joy at riding this horse, he's trying to pull on the reins to lift it up, but it seems like the thing has just taken too much damage. You can see it's got quite a lot of blood all over the main body of the Pegasus. Its one wing seems to have been damaged. It's coming down. Jagsy and Flick, what are you guys doing?
I'm going to be running up the stairs.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, you will be.
Something's happening.
He says, ship is pitching.
Jagsy's gonna grab hold of this 8-legged fiend and follow after Flick. He's gonna take his best sort of wind up, and he's gonna throw it, trying to hit the back of Flick with it. This is yours, you little mongrel!
Give me a range attack. All hell is breaking loose, but there's an octopus being sent across decks.
So Flick is actually going to fire at the Pegasus with his harpoon gun.
You're going to fire at the Pegasus with your harpoon gun. Okay, diplomatic relations 101. Shoot them first, then talk to them. I like it. As you are raising your harpoon to fire at the Pegasus, your familiar sails past you, and time seems to slow as Victor and Lahuna and Indigo have run into each other and are trying to unsandwich themselves from the landing zone of the Pegasus. As you are pulling the trigger and that harpoon is disengaging, you watch as your little octopi familiar sails past you with this look in its eyes of, this is your fault. And it raises all of its tentacles as it just sails past and disappears into the fog and the ocean, as the Shah Khan completely missed his attack. As this thing goes off. Your attack against the Pegasus goes wide as a result because, well, Familiar's just gone overboard. The Pegasus comes crashing down onto the deck of the ship, landing in and amongst the three of you. Each of you take 3 points of damage, which I can add to your characters very quickly. You take 3 points of damage. That's to Indigo, to Lahuna, and to Victor Salt. As there's just feathers and hooves, and the human kind of rolls to the side and stands up for a moment, looks at you, Indigo, and goes, "Well, aren't you just the prettiest thing?" And then collapses on the deck, seemingly unconscious. Young human male, probably in his early 20s, fairly charismatic, quite a strong jaw, wearing, without a doubt, the uniform of a Marine from the Human Royal Navy. So yeah, he collapses directly in front of you. What are you doing, Captain Salt?
Victor sees this young soldier with this uniform that he definitely recognized, and he just sort of curses to himself under his breath, and he goes, "Indigo, get that one into the infirmary. Luna, how's that Pegasus looking? Is it gonna live? Die?"
Do you want me to heal the human or the animal?
Get the human to the
Why?
infirmary.
Yes, I will.
All right, so you're going to grab this young soldier and drag him off to the infirmary. You're going to get some deckhands to help you. You can see Archelius, the half-elf, busy hanging from the rigging, looking down. Mr. Brightshield is also on standby on the deck, watching what's going on. Do you want them to help you, Indigo?
Yes, I'm going to motion for Bright Shield to please help me.
He comes over and very roughly...
He's very heavy for a land-living creature.
I got him, don't you worry, miss. Let's go to the infirmary. You can make him right, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the plan.
Yeah, or we give him to Chef and then Jagsy will be happy, yeah?
No, I think the captain wants him to live.
Yeah, well, we all want to live, don't we? But sometimes that doesn't happen, yeah?
Yes, we want to live, but in this case...
Get a move on!
Live.
Yes, you
Yes.
are. Captain. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. He and Indigo scurry off. Lahuna, what are you doing?
So I turn to Victor. I'm looking down at my holy symbol, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, "Did you pray for a flying horse?"
No, I absolutely did not pray for a flying horse. I didn't
neither.
pray for a Navy intervention in whatever
You
this
know,
is
we just
going
watched
on.
this deck, right? Just saying. So a marine, right? What's he doing out here?
In battle, it sounds like.
Captain?
What?
Captain?
What?
Flick has run over to the captain and is sort of pulling on the long coat.
Yes, Flick. What is it?
Wasn't there some sounds of trebuchets
Yes.
and
Yes,
other
Flick.
things?
Yes, that's the battle I was talking about that this one's most likely wrapped up in.
It sounded quite close.
Yes, it did, which is why we're heading away from the battle.
How fast is
Actually, we're not really heading away, says Morley from the helm. We're sort of just floating kind of nearby, Captain. Just...
Well, we're attempting to head further away from the
Can
battle.
you give us a boost, Flick?
Not really my area of expertise. Let me try.
Please.
I'm going to do... can I do the action to hide instead of trying to move us?
You want to hide the ship? It's in fog, absolutely. So you go up next to Morley, the little Seabold helmsman. He gives you a nod. There's a little wagging of the tails as two Seabolds get close to one another, I suppose. And then you try and hide the ship. Okay, so you're going to try and hide the ship. The ship, that's me, needs to attempt to make a stealth check. That's interesting. Actually, you get to make a survival check. Sorry, the ship is not trying to hide in the middle of combat. It is after combat. So give me a survival check. If you could move the ship, you would move it there, because that's quite dense fog, and that fog is definitely not going to blow away anytime soon. And you tell Morley this. You're like, there, and he sort of...
Over there! There!
He-
There! Come on! Go over there!
I'm trying, he says. He doesn't turn the wheel just with his hands. He leaps onto the wheel and uses his whole body weight to turn it because he's not tall enough to reach the very highest point.
Okay.
So-
Help! Help!
There's this wheel spinning happening as these 2 3-foot little blue creatures try to spin this gigantic wheel designed for humans. Again, you hear the rudder locking in place, but without wind, the ship is just not going anywhere. Jaggerjaw, I need you to give me a perception check, if you please.
21.
There is a wave approaching the ship from port. It probably is about 20 foot high. It's going to slam into the side of the ship, and it is going to hurt. What are you doing? You've got 5 seconds.
Bollocks. Brace! As Jaggerjaw yells this out, he's going to jump onto the Pegasus with just trying to put his weight onto it so it doesn't get swept overboard.
The Pegasus panics as a giant great white shark leaps onto it after it's having just fallen out of the sky. But give me a strength check as you try and restrain this poor avian equine.
14.
It lifts you up, so the net result is you're hanging onto its neck whilst it's standing there on its four legs with its wings flapping around you. And the sentiment is noticed. Captain, you've shouted brace. Indigo, you've gone below decks with the young human who is now being laid down very carefully onto the board that serves as your surgery. Flick, you are holding on to the wheel as best you can. Morley is holding on to you and the wheel as best he can. Indigo, Lahuna, what are you doing?
I go to the wheel and grab around the wheel, around the cobalts. As I do this, my armor is made of corals and barnacles and all kinds of things. So as I do this, my little tentacles come up my armor and start exploring the new smells that they can smell.
Stop! No, not the time!
So there's a little bit of like mlem, mlem, mlem from my armor. And I'm just desperately holding on to try and make sure that we don't get flying seabolds.
Everywhere.
As whatever happens is about to happen.
Salt.
Just holding onto the railing as best he can, trying to make sense of what's going on.
What's going on? All right, the wave slams into the side of the poor ship. It rocks up. Really, it should have been turned into the wave, but that's okay. There's no wind to turn it in any direction anyway. It rocks up onto its side. It takes terrific strain and terrific damage as well. We're just going to roll some damage here for the ship. It only takes 5 points of damage to the hull as it creaks and groans and lifts up a little bit. Let me just quickly add it. But other than that, the wave kind of washes past you, rock up and down for a moment. It's at that point that all of you then start to hear this tremendous creaking roar as if a storm has just suddenly blasted in from nowhere. It starts to rain, and everybody looks up as this massive ship, it must be maybe 200 foot in length, but it looks like a ziggurat, flies overhead on its side. It has 4 trebuchets, which are still busy firing as this thing is sailing through the air. You can see there are dwarvish gunners on the ballistas. They're busy firing again to port side. Shakan, Jagzi, whilst you are holding on to this Pegasus, you and the Pegasus look at each other for that moment of what? Then you both look back. You see, riding on top of this ziggurat, holding on with one hand wrapped to the rigging, and the other is this mighty battle axe, this dwarvish sea captain, seashells sort of braided into his beard as one might expect. He's bellowing orders as his ship, which traditionally Thordane-class ships float, they don't fly. Traditionally, he is holding on. He looks down at you, Jags, and for a moment, there is that connection between the two of you as a doomed captain watches a soon-to-be doomed ship. He gives you a wink, and then the whole ship just fast forwards. It has completely cleared the second chance, and it crashes into the water on your starboard side, shattering into thousands of pieces, the trebuchet arms flapping in the wind as this thing lands very, very, very badly. All of you give me perception checks.
There's more to see?
Oh, yes.
I see nothing.
I'm too busy on the wheel.
My face is buried in Morley's back. I'm like, hi, Morley.
Yeah, Flick, you've currently got tentacles. Lahuna, you currently got tentacles as well. Indigo, from the surgery, you look out the little port window and you realize you shouldn't see the bow of another ship. Especially another ship that is 3 or 4 times the size of the second chance. That's not how close it should be to the side of the ship. Jaggerjaw, you've watched this whole thing crash over, And immediately your attention was drawn to, again, the port side of the ship, as this massive first-rate human ship has just plowed over the wave that has just slammed into the Second Chance and is now bearing down, full sail, massive speed. You can see a sorcerer standing on the back of the ship, his hands open as he is filling those sails with unnatural air. This is a ship in full flight, and the Second Chance is directly in its path. What are you doing, Mr. Jagsy?
Jagsy is gonna relinquish his new best friend, and because now that we're shook, he's gonna yell up at Flick, trying to get his attention because he's next to the helmsman. Oi, Flick!
Yeah?
Check your port side!
Oh, God! Oh, okay. Back again. Back again. Back
We
again.
see it.
Everyone's
Thank you.
scrabbling to try and turn the wheel. Were you trying to take evasive maneuvers? Is that your best chance at this moment?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
that's your statement.
Lahuna, I believe you are commanding officer at the helm, so you need to give me an insight check, if you please, in order to swing the ship around and try and increase your armor class. As this titanic first rate comes round.
I have no common sense.
Yep, that's why you're the first mate. You say
I'm leaving.
I'm just here for the jokes.
that way,
Ruh-roh.
that way. Captain Salt, you're watching as your first mate. You can see she's holding onto the wheel with the two kobolds frantically running like little hamsters, and the wheel is spinning. But again, without this wind, the ship is really just lulling in its side. It's slowly starting to come around. The first-rate ship is bearing down upon you. Indigo, are you going to try and do anything from down there?
I'm going to tell Sunshield, go up, ask the captain if the priorities have changed. And then I'm going to examine the human, and I'm also going to fix the straps that are on my on the table where I laid him down, where I usually use them when I have to amputate or something like that. But in this case, it might keep him from rolling off the table, and then I hold on to that.
Then you hold on to that, absolutely.
And still
Yes.
try to find out what's wrong with him.
Aha, give me a medicine check very quickly, Lahuna.
Can I utilize my divine sense?
Yes, you can.
I don't have regular sense, but I do have divine sense.
He is currently dying from death.
oh yeah.
That's the cause at the moment.
That's serious.
Yes,
Brutal.
it is. It's pretty bad.
I make a gesture to ward off bad luck, and then I slowly back away from him. Because this is a very bad omen.
It
Death is on the ship.
It's about to be. Lahuna,
Ca-
you were divine sensing?
Yes, I'm trying to divine sense to see if there's anything obviously unnatural about this ship, because, you know, first it rained horses and now it's raining ships. So,
Sure.
QED.
All right.
So I should know the location of any celestial fiend or undead within 60 feet.
Ah, yes. You cast this. Your eyes glow. What is the color of your magic?
My magic is blue-green. It's aquamarine.
Aquamarine. This aquamarine color washes over your face, and suddenly the world changes to these very strange tones of living and unliving, or fiendish and unfiendish and the like. And as you look over to the port side, the entire port side lights up with undead.
Oh.
But when I say the entire port side, I mean from bow to stern of the Second Chance, and from horizon to horizon. This is maybe 600 or 700 feet of undead in both directions. It's so strong you can see beyond the realm of the normal magic. And then it rises up and up and up 400 foot into the air.
And that's how the second chance became the last chance.
Yay. Guy.
Yes, Captain Salt.
I close enough to the helm to try to intervene with Flix and and Morley's frantic scrambling.
Sure, absolutely. What are you going to try and do?
I want to try to I launch myself over and just sort of put all my weight onto the helm and just pull it down, just sort of veer the ship hard to port and try to sort of angle it so that when it inevitably hits, it will hit sort of at an angle and hopefully
Sideswipe,
glance
right.
off our side.
Okay, all right. Give me a strength check. And would you give me a strength check as well there, young flick? As you have advantage, Salt, because Flick is small.
All right, I'll do it again then.
All right, so 16. Yep. Flick.
Nice.
There are lots of ones coming out in this episode. One's for me from a technical, one's for you guys. This is great. So those 12 episodes we're talking about in space is just going to end up shortly. Thanks for watching. You pull hard on the wheel. Flick, you suddenly get pulled away from the little tentacles of Lahuna's armor. Morley comes with you as this wheel is spun hard to port. The ship starts to move because of the current and the bow wave of this first-rate ship. Now, to give you an indication, your ship is what? How long? It's 80 foot, I think. The first-rate ship is 180 foot long. It's more than double the size of you, and whereas you've got 3 decks, it has 5 decks. You have 1 mangonel and 1 trebuchet. It has 4 mangonels and you have 1 mangonel and 1 ballista. It has 4 mangonels and 4 ballista. It is a proper warship. It's also usually armed with a complement of Pegasus riders. You know what's happened to those. You pull hard, your ship turns, the first rate comes careening down. It looks like it might have seen you. Jags, any last words as the bow of the ship is about to cut yours in half?
This won't buff out easy.
There we go. All right, Captain Assault, roll a d20 for me, if you please.
Yes, sir.
14. The first rate gets 10. You scrape past the first rate. The little second chance just rocks in that bow wave, which thankfully actually pushes you to the side more than pulling you into the ship itself. The first rate just continues to sail past. There's bits, your rigging is being ripped to shreds as your yardarms, which stick out over the side of the ship, are just being grappled and pulled by this massive ship. There is very little hope of walking away from this unscathed. So impact damage, you did manage to mitigate it slightly, which is fantastic. So you don't get the full 16 d10 damage. You do, however, take 52 points of damage to your sails and to your rigging, which means that your single mast is now pulled sideways. Yardarms are pulled, the upper canvas, the square rigging is completely ripped off. The deck is just littered with bits of debris and detritus and chaos. The ship bobs to the side, and as you are riding out this current wave, the fog parts for a moment in front of you, because now you're facing to port, which is where all the sounds are coming from. And this first rate is just sailing past you as fast as she can, firing everything she has aft. So all the mangonels are still firing backwards. They're not aiming at anything. They're just firing backwards. They're firing over their own aft section. The ballista, you can see the human gunners in their little castellions that sit on the side of the ship. They're busy firing ballistas, reloading and firing. Again, not aiming at anything, just firing into the fog. And as the fog slowly parts, this massive grey-green rotting tentacle stretches out towards the first rate. These little suckers, when I say little suckers, each sucker is probably the size of a large cartwheel, reach out towards the side of the ship as it tries to sideswipe the first-rate ship. Let's see what happens there. It misses because the first rate's got full sails. You can see that Aquamage at the back of the first rate ship busy throwing up as much magic as they can to fill up those sails to get the first rate going. The tentacle sideswipes and misses. What are you doing, Captain Salt? Because you are now floating towards this magnificent monstrosity. That tentacle was easily 300 foot in length.
Yes, I'm going to keep holding the wheel and try to keep turning around, hoping to catch the back of this mage's winds, hoping so that we can sort of float along in his wake. And
He's gonna surf his wake. I like it.
That's the only wind around here right now,
Absolutely.
so I'm figuring that's what I'm going to try to grab.
It's a good call. It's a good call, Jags.
While the captain is trying to do that with the torn and tattered sails and rigging, Jagsy gets to work. He just basically starts yelling at crewmen, "You out there up on the rig, make sure the mainsail is fully stucked up. Wrap the rope around and drag it back down here and connect it to the side. You, come down here. I need 2 hands on this." And I'm going to try and repair what I can with the jury rig.
Right, give me a jury rig roll. That's a strength check. DC 14, if you please.
Oh, not good enough.
You are being helped by Archelius and Snikt. Snikt the kobold, Archelius the half-elf. You're trying to pull one of the spars back into place because it's been knocked out of its joint. But there's just too much drag, there's too much resistance as the captain is busy turning the ship. Indigo down below deck, there hasn't been that significant impact. The human is moaning and groaning as if he is in a semi-conscious state.
I leave him in a semi-conscious state, and then I leave the infirmary. If he's going to die, he's going to die of death, and I don't want no part in this. And so I had...
Doctor!
On deck. No, I'm a druid.
I'm a druid.
You hired me as a surgeon. Hired.
Well, just
Where are you
because I
heading?
haven't been able to pay you so far, I mean...
I'm heading above deck, and I'm mumbling under my breath and making small, angry and also painful noises because the ship has been hit. She's hurting. I can hear it.
You can indeed. The sight you see as you get up on deck is Jagsy busy trying to order crew around. There's broken mast everywhere. There's bits of sail dragging like corpses behind the ship and on the sides of the ship. And then there's this magnificent undead tentacle in front of you. You can give me a nature check, if you please, Indigo,
Yes.
as you step up. You recognize this tentacle. Well, not this particular tentacle, but you recognize what this creature is.
Mother?
This must be one of the famous Kraken, but it shouldn't be that color. Kraken are an amazingly beautiful, iridescently illuminated, very deep sea creature. They generally reside in the pit of Golgur in the Azure Sea. This one shouldn't be grey and green with bits of it falling off and appearing to be rotting, however. If it is a Kraken, it's probably 300 or 400 foot in terms of body length with an extra 400 or 500 feet of tentacle length. It is a truly colossal creature. What could have brought it to the surface is unknown. There aren't many things in the ocean that are big enough to lure a Kraken out of the pit of Golgur. That's what you're seeing, as well as everything else going on. Lahuna?
Captain Salt is steering. Jagsy is fixing things. I run to Indigo and ask her, "What the hell is this thing? It's undead. What is it?"
Indigo grabs your shoulder, and then she comes close and whispers, "It's the hunger of the deep, but something has eaten it."
Lahuna processes this through Indigoese, which after about 4 months she has got used to, and she's like,
And now the sea has spit it up. It is angry.
"It's a freaking Kraken." Oh God. What do I know about Krakens? That's my next question.
Yeah, you can give me a history check or a nature check.
It is the same thing for you. 15.
Kraken, generally, baby Kraken, occasionally, would be encountered by the merfolk. But by baby Kraken, I mean a 100-foot-long creature that has a tendency to eat everything in its path.
Right, angry calamari.
Yes, so the merfolk, there's a reason Meros is surrounded by islands, and principally it's because of a whole bunch of other reasons, but Kraken, baby Kraken anyway, were a serious threat at one stage, but they started to die down with all of the other races arriving. This giant Kraken, there is nothing that should have brought it to the surface. Whales are not big enough for this thing to come up to the surface. Generally, they come from the pit of Golgur, which is this strange pit in the middle of the Azure Ocean, well, to the south of the Azure Sea, I should say. That pit is bottomless. It really is bottomless. So there's no reason why something would be drawn this high up. Something must have aggravated it or eaten it or something. Yes.
So, Indigo, what can we do to appease it?
I don't know. It eats everything. It eats ships. It eats cities. And if it does, we just let it. And this one has been slain or died. And if they die, they come to rest, and there's a black mark on the ground in the sea, and we don't go there. And I have never heard of one coming back up.
Luna takes a breath out, takes a breath in, and she goes, "Full speed ahead! Battle stations! Everyone get ready! Get ready now!"
There's generals scurrying around as crewmen start manning the single ballista and the single mangonel. They start winching it down as fast as they can. Flick, what are you doing?
Do you think that's Pinky?
From the oceans, a very small little tentacle pops up, and it's doing this at the moment as it's drifting away.
Yep, definitely Pinky. That is definitely Pinky. No need to worry. Don't worry. It's fine.
Flick, find me a bloody wind. You're the mage. Find me wind.
Morley stands next to you.
Yeah, keep doing that. Yeah. That's
I'm just saying, there is a ship action called Break the Wind, which might be appropriate more so than blowing on the sails.
Indigo wants to do her druid craft.
Yes.
Indigo does a druid craft cantrip, which is a weather foretelling cantrip, if you want to, and to find whether there's going to be any wind soon, or whether there's a
roll
round.
a d8 for me, Indigo. If you get a 1 or a 2, the wind is going to arrive.
It's a 3.
There's a light breeze, but you're not sure if that's because of the Titanic ship that just sailed past towards the iceberg, or whether it is because the wake has now started to move you over the waters. You're not convinced that there is going to be a particularly strong wind. Yes, Flick, you can take the action Break the Wind if you are desperate to do so. You certainly can. You certainly can do that if you want to. Jagsy, what are you doing?
Yes, I will.
All right, I'll come back to you. Jags, you're still repairing, you're still trying to pull this ship together?
Yeah, given that there's now these giant bloody tentacles floating out of the water, I'm gonna use my shipwright ability called I'll Patch It, and
I'll rig it, I'll patch it, I'll fix it. Okay,
yeah,
I'm done.
Just be quiet, I'm working on it. I heal the hull by 10 hit points.
10 hit points. Okay.
I do it.
Just 10 hit points. You just fix it. You just
fix it. Yep.
You just fix it. All right.
Because I can.
Because you can. Right, you are.
Come on, old girl. You can do it. No giant stick of calamari is going to bring you down.
As you're starting to hammer things together. All right. That brings your hit points to 42. It's a little bit better. You're starting to get some sails back up into position as the crew are helping you. Let's try and break that wind. Give me a survival check if you can, Mr. Flick.
Okay. Not bad.
That's very good. You start to look with Indigo's sort of trying to do her druid craft and indicating that there might be a breeze. You realize that, yes, the captain's got a brilliant idea of surfing the wave, the bow wake of this first rate. Plus, if you angle the lateen sail, which is the sail at the back, the big triangular one that hasn't yet been used, you might be able to get the ship to start moving. So I now am happy to report that as you start tugging on the ropes to pull that lateen sail around to catch the wind, it suddenly pops and fills with a little bit of wind. The ship starts to gain a movement speed of 10 foot per round as you're starting to bring her around all the way back towards your final destination. All of you are on deck. That tentacle seems to reach once more out for the first rate, which is making its way as fast as it possibly can away. The tentacle swipes for the first rate, hits the first rate ship on that particular roll. I'm just going to roll the damage quickly. I need to count. I think that's right. That is the amount of damage that is done to the first rate. It takes 78 points as this tentacle side swipes the back of it. There is this creaking, groaning sound. The whole back of the first rate is just ripped open. Glass and windows and crewmen are wrenched out into the open sea as this tentacle continues its arc. All 5 of you are drawn to looking at this beast, and as the ship is busy swinging around, you catch a glimpse. The fog parts just for a moment, and it looks as if this gigantic Kraken is wearing bits of ship as armor. You can see the tentacles have pushed through the holes, so it's sort of wearing different ships on itself as bits of it can only be described as armor. But riding on top of this very grey, mushy dome is this very, very dead-looking individual who is standing holding the saber, holding on to some ancient reins that have been attached to this creature, and seems to be directing its attention towards the first rate of the first rate ship. What catches your eye is that this person is dressed in a very similar uniform to the young man that crashed onto your deck, except that his uniform looks as if it's been at the bottom of the ocean for 100 years. It's covered in bits of detritus and it's torn, but the brilliant blue and yellow is still visible in certain patches, which would mark him as having been an individual of the human Royal Navy. Now, his shoulder pads that he's wearing have these tassels upon them, which mark him as quite a high rank within that navy, or he would have been anyway, a very long time ago. But his rotting flesh does nothing to convey a sense of life. And then the fog closes up again as you start to make your way forward. Now, you were trying to be stealthy quite a long time ago, Mr. Flick, as the ship... Are you still trying to be stealthy, or is this just a case of go, go, go?
Yeah, it's a case of
Oh my god!
Go. All right, are you going to fire at this creature, first mate? You've got everybody on the guns. You're not sure your mangonels or your ballistae are going to do anything against that Titan. If it took out a Thordane-class dwarvish warship and a first rate is running as fast as it can away from it, what are you doing? The gunners are ready. The mangonels are loaded with their heavy round shot. The ballista, poor old Scurvy Till, the mop-eyed map maker, thanks internet, is sitting on the ballista ready to fire. He kind of looks over at you with one eye funnily as he waits for the command to fire. Why the person without any depth perception is on the ballista, we don't know, but it's what he likes to do, and you don't really shoot things. Yes, Indigo?
Indigo is just looking at all of this with exactly this expression.
All right.
Concern.
Luna?
If we fire enough ammo, does that have the same action as jettisoning cargo and make us go 5 feet faster? We will be lighter.
You will be, but you need to discharge 5 units of cargo. So 20 bolts or 20 mangonel weights count as a unit. So if you lob... Oh, 10 units, I should say. Sorry. So 10 ballista bolts, 10 mangonels. That would be 2 units. You'd still have to throw another 3 units overboard to gain that extra 5 foot of speed. It's possible,
All right.
Absolutely.
All right,
Okay,
if we need speed, I grab Flick and I throw him overboard.
Jags!
Are you
Put
really
down
grabbing
the
Flick and
goblin.
throwing him overboard?
We need him.
Sorry.
Fine.
Kobolds.
You'll have to catch me first.
Exactly.
What happened to the flying horse?
It's standing there quietly chewing on some sail that fell down near it. It's sort of sitting there chewing on it. It's not happy, but it's just not capable of flying. Its one wing seems very badly damaged.
I go over to the weird flying horse
All right.
and grab its chin and turn it away. And then I use my Dominion of the Sea ability, my trait as an
Yes.
aquatic elf, to cast Speak with Animal. And I say, do not eat the ship.
It gives you a long, soulful look with these brilliant blue eyes that the Pegasi have, and it nods.
I will feed you. I will take care of you, but do not eat her.
It it snorts that wonderful horsey sort of sound, and you feel the hot breath coming out of that very soft nose that horses have. It certainly seems to have complied.
Now show me that wing.
Very tentatively, it sort of holds out this very badly damaged wing.
I'm taking a look at it and see what can be done for it.
All right, give me a medicine check. It's your favorite one.
Can only be better.
I've learned not to take fantasy grounds that much.
It's not good.
Yes,
but it's
the
better.
wing is broken and it's going to require some bandaging. But other than that, it should be serviceable again in a couple of weeks without any kind of magical intervention.
Good. Then I end the whole thing by telling the creature, now step aside, out of the way of the big teeth, pointing at Jackie.
It very pointedly steps sideways in a beautifully executed maneuver that would make a Lipizzaner blush.
As the ship was being smashed apart and everything, and there were sailors flying and everything, Victor would have, like, as he was struggling with the helm, just sort of try to keep into this thing's wake, and at the same time sort of not get in the way of the giant tentacle, or would just start screaming at people to throw out ropes. We got crew overboard. Hold them in.
That's what you're
And
shouting?
just starting directing people to try to save these sailors that landed into the water.
Absolutely, not a problem. You see the cabin boy, she comes slinking up onto deck. She wears lots of dark makeup and she has very long dark hair. And she kind of looks over at you and she goes, all right, fine. And she goes over to the side and she sort of looks down into the murky water. You can see she's sort of contemplating maybe she should jump in, maybe it'll embrace her. But then she sees a rather spiffy-looking sailor who seems slightly hurt, and this little Disney delusion plays out in her head where suddenly she's a princess and she gets married and she sings songs, and so she kind of throws a rope limply down towards the sailor to try and save him. Flick, what are you doing? The captain's on the wheel. You are sort of gauging the wind. You've got the ship moving at 10 foot per round. What are you doing?
Probably hanging onto a rope, trying to just being very unsuccessful, but also pulling on it. I'm gonna cast Mage Hand to help me.
Okay. This is vaporous little hand. What color is your magic, by the way?
Bright red.
This bright, glowing red hand appears, capable of lifting 5 pounds, which is pretty much what its master is capable of lifting. And you're going to use it to help you on the ropes and the rigging to try and keep the ship in this gust of wind that you managed to find.
Yeah.
perfectly fine. You sort of send it over to some loose ropes where it quite limply pulls at them and tries to secure them as best it can. But yes, it's doing its best job. Jagsy?
The first class ship that's in front of us, is that traveling faster than the second chance?
Oh yes, it's probably making a good 40 feet per round.
Do you reckon, looking
so
like
much
because
more.
Jags is obviously the ship, right? You know, looking at the ship and how much damage it took from the tentacle, that it could maybe take another couple of those, or if it's just kind of limping forward, or
Looking at it, it's probably already taken a couple of those, because the more you look at it, the more you realize that there's great big chunks missing out of its side as well. It's probably been hit about 5 or 6 times already. Maybe it could get hit 3 or 4 more times, but that's probably the extent of it. If it gets... it's not in a good way. If it doesn't get to port quickly, it is done for.
okay.
Back to you, Flick.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to, so I'm going to approach Luna, who's on the weapons, and Jagsy basically says, Luna, I've got a bit of an idea. It might be crazy, but it might just get us out of here. We're not going to escape anything traveling as fast as we can. If we batten down the next ammunitions from the ballista to the ship's main mast and fire it at the aft of that other ship, we may be able to get some pull from them as we can maybe get a bit more speed here.
Wait, you want to fire the mast?
No. The ballista. We'll tie the ballista to the mast with a big bit of rope and have them pull us forward.
I like this idea.
Fantastic. I'm going to go
How
do
do you
that.
tell that?
Oh, we're not telling him anything. We're going to shoot him.
Okay, let's do it.
Just to be clear, you are going to fire on His Majesty's first-rate warship.
We're taking a piggyback.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll understand.
The magistrate looks up. You were taking a what? A piggyback on His Majesty's first-rate ship?
Well,
The impudence of it all! 90 days
well,
in
here's
the
a Shah Khan, sir,
That's
please.
the little...
Yes.
Nope.
Are you playing the Shah Khan card? Oh my goodness. Yes, all right.
What
The
can I do?
magistrate
Right.
doubles it to 180 days.
Damn
Nonetheless, this is what you're rigging. All right, I'm going to kind of flick very quickly. Flick, what did you want to do?
The same thing.
Okay, fine. Let's just declare war on the human navy.
I
We don't
was
need
going
them.
to see if there were any trailing things that we could tie to our mast, not firing at it, but, this is what we're doing now.
We're
Mike
not
is
doing
fully
that.
on board with this plan.
There you go. Lahuna, you are busy making this a reality. Till the mop-eyed looks at you. I'm ready to fire when you are, first mate. He says as he looks down at the ballista. You realize he hasn't tied anything to the ballista yet. He didn't get that part of the plan.
Okay, I tie the ballista to the mast very securely as I possibly can.
Sure, you're running backwards and forwards, securing it. Yes.
I say to him, let's not make a habit of this. Fire when ready.
Firing when ready. Who needs to be ready?
Fire.
Oh,
Now.
yes, all right.
Go,
He
go,
pulls
go.
on this,
Fire, Lacey, go.
this lever. Because you're standing next to him, you grant him advantage to his attack roll. And he fires away. Let me just quickly add this in. It's +5 to his attack. I tell a lie, it's +6 actually. Ballista are pretty accurate. He fires this thing
Wonder
with
if you had 2 eyes.
yeah, if he had 2 eyes, it might have accuracy. He fires it off and gets a 21. There is a loud thunk as the ballista embeds itself in parts of the remains of the first rate of the ship. Indigo, you watch this cable, this rope, which is now attached the second chance to the first rate. There are sailors in the sea. You can see some of the crew are busy trying to drag them up on deck. Already they have managed to pull up onto deck. 3 wounded human sailors. They're not dressed as fancily as the first one that crashed onto the ship, but they still have a blue and yellow striped sailor's shirt on, which would indicate that they are still part of the Royal Navy. What are you doing, Indigo?
I'm just giving them a quick glance, and if none of them looks like they're dying right now, I'm going to help our crew to get people out of the drink, because I have the feeling that the rest of our crew is doing something really, really stupid. And we better get these people out of the water before we go skipping like a stone over the waves away from here. So hopefully we get some more people.
Absolutely. Captain Salt, the ballista has landed its bolt directly into the hull of the first rate, and you watch as the rope is busy uncoiling as the first rate is surging away. This Kraken behind you seems to be extending its arm, getting ready to try and make one last swipe at the first rate before it's too far away from it. What are you doing? Still on the wheel? You're going to try and do something, anything?
Can I use the full speed ahead action to sort of try to basically veer the ship into one of these bow waves and sort of be pulled along with the current?
Your challenge now is that you will be competing. If you go full speed, that will get whatever crew is left to unfurl as much sail as they possibly can.
All right.
Which is great when there's wind from behind, but because you're being pulled, there's now wind from the front, so you would actually be putting on a brake if you were to do that.
Yes. Well, then I'm not quite sure what I want. I'm just gonna keep steering the ship, I suppose.
All right, absolutely not a problem. Anyone want to do anything else before this rope plays itself out? You've got 3 seconds.
I'm going to try and reinforce the mast rope with like just as much like timber and just scrap, nailing like little kind of brackets at every point I can, just to the mast. Like hold.
All right, you're hoping that it doesn't just rip the mast straight out of the ship. Absolutely, so am I. Flick, you were going to do something.
How far away is the ship?
The first rate, she is currently 80 foot and increasing by 40 foot every round.
Okay, I'm not going to do that. No, Flick.
There was some thinking going on there. All right.
No, he's not going to do that. Carry on. Flick's still doing the rope thing.
Abandoned ship. See you guys. Good luck.
Yeah, there's still a very little pink tentacle floating around on the ocean doing this at you.
That's fine. Pinky will come back later.
Indigo, you wanted to do something?
Indigo calls out to the rest of the crew, brace! Brace! Right. Madness is upon us!
You're shouting brace, everyone kind of hunkers down except for Jagsy, who's busy hammering nails into the rope that attaches the ballista to the ship.
Oh, and then I'm going to brace myself.
Of course, you grab onto a belaying pin. Lahuna?
I'm just double checking. We remembered to tie the other end of the rope to our ship, right?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
I took that whole action as threading it to the to the ballista bolt and to the mast itself. Yes.
In that case, because this is what Lahuna was going to do before Indigo did it, she shouts out, "Brace, my little merlets! We're going to sing songs about this later!"
No, we won't!
That comes from Indigo and from Bethany, the cabin boy. She looks over and she's like, I don't sing. Just as she says that, the entire ship surges forward as that rope catches in. I'm going to get Captain Salt. I need you to please give me a strength check for the for your ship, for the second chance. So...
not for me then, the second chance.
No, it's for the second chance. So the second chance's stats, I'm going to give them to you right now.
Okay.
Why can't I see them? Because I'm looking in the wrong place. There we go. Open up the right tab, you monkey. There we go. The second chance's strength modifier is a brilliant +4.
Shall I roll again? Or
roll again. No, roll again.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, better.
Oh no!
That's downwards, not upwards.
Why? Why?
Because Fantasy Grounds likes to make players sweat. That's why. You watch in terror as this rope strengthens, it taunts itself, and then there is a wrenching, ripping sound. Jagsy, you watch in sadness. I don't know what your emotion is, as the decking around the mast all suddenly bends and bows to a dangerous angle. You have one decision to make here, Jagsy. Cut the rope, save the mast, or try and reinforce the mast, but run the risk of losing it.
Oh,
What
definitely
do you
reinforce it. Definitely reinforce it. Come on.
You're
All or
reinforcing
nothing.
it. Okay, all or nothing. There we go. I like it. Give me a tool ship water check, if you please, using your intelligence.
Okay. Dang it.
You know what? So I was really hoping we'd last more than one episode.
Very lovely mast.
It was a very lovely mast,
Go to
wasn't
the
it?
ship, Victor.
Okay, I know it's probably a bit too late to throw this in there, but given the circumstances, would I be able to basically get it so that obviously it's going to snap? It looks like it's going to snap, and could I try and snag the mast onto the bow of the ship along the railing and stuff, because it's basically this huge pillar.
Yes.
I want to basically try, like, looking at it, basically going, yeah, this is going to break. I want to put my weight on it to try and break it earlier and faster so it doesn't just fling over the bow, instead just sort of lodges at the front.
All right, give me a strength check for yourself.
Okay, come on, baby.
All right. So, the ship, the bending deck, suddenly pops and shatters as the mast is pulled from its housing. The second chance takes a whopping 70 damage as the sails are wrecked. That mainmast, you only have one mainmast anyway. It just wrenches free. Your sails are completely destroyed. For all intents and purposes, they are at 0. So your speed is reduced by 20 foot per round under normal conditions. You watch as this mast is wrenched free. It drags along the front of the deck. There is a scream from Sam McFinnigan. He shouts, "Axa!" And the Warforged, who's standing over the anchors, the Warforged of the ship, his name is Axa. He is responsible for raising and lowering the anchors. He looks around and goes, "Yes." As he does, the mast impales through his chest, sending him out over the ocean and leaving him hanging on the front. The light in his eyes flickers for a moment and then disappears as your whole ship rocks and grinds and is dragged forward. The mast now acts as a giant brake in the front. The ship rolls forward. Everybody on the ship tumbles. Give me dexterity saving throws, the lot of you.
Oh my god.
Wouldn't I be thrown into the helm as I'm sort of
Yes,
holding on to it?
so you don't want your chest compacted. Oh, look at that. A natural 1 for Flick. A 4 for Lahuna. These dice. I need to write to Fantasy Grounds and say, hey, please, my people need help. I've just done a video actually on what to do when you roll poorly. Die is the usual outcome. So, Indigo, you're okay. You were bracing. That's the command that was given. You were doing what you were told to do, or what you told everyone else to do. You're okay. You hold on as the ship rocks forward. Flick, you're busy concentrating your magic hand, your mage hand, and the next minute the entire ship just suddenly stops. You sail forward. You're going forward 20 feet. So you take 9 points of damage. That knocks you out. So you're completely unconscious. Victor Salt, you manage to hold. You get pushed into the wheel, but you kind of hold on. Lahuna, you are just launched. You and Till, the mop-eyed map maker, sail. He holds on to you going, well, if I'm going to go, I might as well go with something pretty. As he holds on to you. The two of you take 5 points of damage each. I'll add that to you.
As he grabs me, my armor goes blem, 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 blem.
Oh, you can join in too, he says as he licks your armor. And that's what's happening there. Let me see. Jaggerjaw, you're holding onto the mast. The whole thing kind of braces you for it, so I think you're okay. There is, for a moment, that praying wish that it is over. But it isn't over. Because that tentacle again slaps out towards the first rate of the ship, misses completely, slaps into the water, sending a spray up over the second chance. But as it's starting to subside down into the water, you get a sense that the whole thing is lowering down, because it sounds like there's a waterfall that's just bubbling and boiling coming from what used to be your port side. And the first-rate ship is continuing forward. If you don't cut free, you will be dragged along behind them back to Saltmarsh. Is that your plan?
Yes. I don't know. I feel like that was a loaded question.
Can I ask, without the main mast, could we limp our way there alone?
Yes, without the main mast, your speed is a whopping 20 feet per round, which translates, with my bad mathematics, to being able to travel at roughly 40 miles a day. You are currently, let's go to the map. You are currently, let's do that. You are currently about, I would say, 75 miles away. So,
Must have taken 2 days.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days, give or take.
Victor sort of watches, and his first instinct was to yell, scream at them to cut that bloody rope. But then he just sort of looks at what sail he has left, and then he just goes, I'm just gonna let that be for now.
All right. Indigo, the ship is slowly being dragged. There seems to be a bit of a calm settling over. People are picking themselves up. There's some general coughing, spluttering, muttering. 1 or 2 more sailors are being brought up. Another 2 have been pulled up, so you've got 5 sailors in total. Flick is lying in a tangle of rope and netting, and there is a little octopus next to him. Its one tentacle is currently stroking his cheek.
Oh. Indigo runs forward and tries to dig Flick out of this, and then she lifts his little broken dragon body.
Yes.
Opens his mouth to listen for breath. And then she puts
Stertorous.
her hand on his breastbone and whispers, "Wake up, little dragon!" and uses one of her spell slots to cure wounds.
There you go. You get 5 back. You are restored. You are restored.
Indigo looks down at you, and then she lifts up the tiny pink octopus and settles it on your breast underneath your snout and says, "Look who's come back."
Oh, hello, Pinky.
The octopus makes a little heart shape with 2 of its tentacles towards you, Indigo. And then it slaps you across the side of the face, Flick. No, Flick. It slaps Flick across the side of his face.
Yeah, you're right. I deserved it. You're right.
Oh my goodness! All right, so you're back on. You're back to life there. The ship is now going to continue. It's going to take you another day to get back to port, being dragged behind this first rate. They have other things on their minds to worry about. They're not worried about you at all. They don't even notice that you're dragging behind them. The fog is so thick, and their ship is so badly damaged. The helmsman is, "She's sluggish, sir, but there's so many things that could account for that, so they don't notice you." You've got a day. What are you doing?
Victor's going to start, sort of hand off the helm to someone less important and start stomping around making sure all the wounded are taken care of, telling Jaggerjaw, go down in the hold, make sure we don't have any major leaks, start getting water out of there.
Aye, Captain. I'll get
And
it.
it sort of, as he walks up, I sort of stop him for a second with a hand on his shoulder and go, all right, that was it's a good idea.
It was a good idea. You both look at the mast, which has been ripped from its roots and is hanging like this corpse over the front of the ship, with an actual corpse of Axa the Warforged on the front, slowly dipping in and out of the waves as the ship pitches through the water. But yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
How about we just call it an idea for now?
Yeah.
There's much work to be done.
Just one casualty after all of that. Whatever that was. Luna,
Captain,
what was that?
that was a Kraken before it died.
Before it died.
Yeah, it's a bit precocious. It's still causing trouble.
Yes, so I could see.
I haven't seen anything like it before, Captain, but I don't think I want to again.
No, let's agree on that one.
So let's leave the angry calamari behind and go get the ship repaired. Permission to rally the crew, Captain.
Rally away.
So Lahuna sort of marches off and starts going, all right, you lovely little merlets, let's get this place ship shape. Get it? Shaped like a ship. I would like to roll a persuasion check to try and improve crew morale, please.
All right, that's what you're going to start doing. You're going to try and improve crew morale. Give me a persuasion check. Let's see if they believe you.
50.
90. as a matter of
90,
fact.
no?
Yeah, most of them
very
kind of
persuasive.
look at you and they kind of nod and they're like, yeah, you know, the lizard folk who's on board for now, Rockway, he looks over and his big purple tongue flicks out and flicks back in again. We did not die, yes.
No, we did not. And this is gonna be such a great story to sing about at tonight's ship karaoke.
Bethany immediately raises her hand.
You don't have to sing, Bethany.
She puts her hand down and she carries on with her job.
But you do have to help fix the ship, so go, go, go.
The crew start to get into motion. Jags, you got your hand up. What are you doing?
Yes, before I forget, because I know I'm going to, can I make a history check on the Kraken? Because Jagsy, being a rather superstitious member of a superstitious race, actually has history as a proficient.
Go ahead.
Yay! 15.
15.
So pretty much the same thing as I think
You've
Indigo got.
Yeah, you've heard Lahuna and Indigo talking about this Kraken being undead. You can definitely see that it is significantly an old Kraken. It's a very old, very large beastie. It shouldn't be up this high in the waters. There is an old story that has circulated amongst the Shakan about the Black Tide. The Black Tide is a current that comes around once, maybe every 100 years or so, and it causes the dead to rise. That's the only thing you can think of. You don't know when the last Black Tide was because it's lost to memory, but that could explain why it's up here.
Just on that note, in terms of the Black Tide, you said that the Krakens usually are in that deep
The Pit of Golgur.
the Pit of Golgur. In terms of like the Black Tide, is it like a location that the story came from? Like,
The Black
or was it-
Tide is roving. So sometimes it would come to the Azure Sea, sometimes it would go into the Windswift Ocean, sometimes it would be even further away. It's just where a big concentration, according to superstition anyway, a big concentration of drownings have occurred will attract the Black Tide. And this tide will then form, it will last, but because the ocean is a fickle mistress, the tide generally doesn't last long, but it usually lasts long enough to obliterate anything in its path. There is an ancient Shakhan ritual where if you throw 100 virgins into the volcano, it will cause the black tide to disappear and stop its malevolent acts. That hasn't been done for a very long time. Finding 100 virgins is very difficult in Shakhan society, and in any society for that matter. So it usually takes a couple of months to round up everybody, by which time usually the black tide's gone. So the intention was there, and usually that's enough to appease whatever creature caused it to happen.
Cool. I know what I'm going to do when I'm getting into port then.
All right. Indigo, yes, you've got a lot of patience flooding your little space. Your space being the second deck of the second chance. What are you doing? Indigo?
Indigo. I didn't get that one.
My apologies.
Indigo is for now following Jagsy and trying to help out with repairing the ship. And she, unless there's someone really bleeding, dying, and having broken bones where I can see them.
I think if Victor sees Indigo trying to trail off after Jagsy, he would just sort of grab her and gently but firmly steer her towards the infirmary instead. You and I are going to go speak to some sailors, and you're going to make sure that they stay alive.
Oh, but he's dying anyway.
Indigo, I want you to at least try. Can you do that for me?
For you, yes, Ostra.
You
What?
go.
You call it an honorific, I think.
Right, fine, whatever. Let's just go talk to the
man who's already dead, that's still breathing.
Yes, the dead man who's still breathing.
Good, then shall I just talk with him? Or will you come?
I'm coming with you because I want to talk to the man who crashed onto my ship from a Pegasus. Indigo, can we please go talk to the man in the infirmary?
Captain, remember those breathing exercises? Luna shouts across the ship.
Not right now!
You go below deck. Sorry, carry on, Indigo.
Indigo climbs below deck as fast as she can without losing all her dignity.
Salt just stomps after her. He's not in the mood right now.
And peeks into the infirmary to see whether anything eldritch happened in there.
Adrian Brightshield is standing there, and he looks over at you and he goes, well, it's full, so we had to take over the crew quarters, only on account that your room's not big enough, really. So we just moved everyone there so you can look after them all at the same time. It's a bit of thinking going on there, yeah.
There was something going on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good. Captain Eostra, they have moved them.
Fine, let's just go. Have you moved the first one that came in on the Pegasus?
Oh, yeah. No, we put them all in the same space, Captain, so, so you can gander at them all at the same time, yeah.
Right, good. Let's go.
You step into the crew barracks, the crew sleeping quarters, and it's just hammocks filled with humans, mostly in a state of drownedness. There's moaning and groaning. There is the main individual who fell off the Pegasus as she crashed down. He's lying there. He's looking particularly bleak, but Salt, you've been around a lot of dead people. He doesn't look like he's dying. He is still breathing.
I sort of lean over him. I slap him across the face.
He looks up at you. Oh, well, you're not the one who I saw on the deck, but hello?
What are you doing on my ship? What just happened?
Gravity?
Take it back a little further. I am really not in the mood for any kind of lip.
Understood.
Do you understand?
You're the captain of this ship, I take it?
Yes.
Right, you are. First Lieutenant Tarquin, at your service, sir. Part of His Majesty's Royal Pegasus Aerial Brigade. We are attached to the first-rate ship, the Dominance,
Right.
sir. Yes, we engaged with an unknown entity about 5 hours ago. I don't know how long I've been unconscious for. Nonetheless,
Not that long.
we engaged with an unknown entity only to discover that it was some god-awful fish thing. He looks
And
at
you
you,
got
Indigo.
thoroughly-
Present company accepted, of course. And we were attacked. It decimated a lot of things.
Yes.
Yes. I think the dwarves didn't make it.
No, I don't think the dwarves made it either.
Right.
Dwarven ships are not usually airborne, are they?
No, not in our general experience. No, not
No.
often.
What were you doing in this region? Saltmarsh isn't exactly navy waters, is it?
No, I'm not entirely sure I can tell you that, Captain.
I have a writ, if that helps.
Yes, I'm still not entirely sure I can tell you that, only I understand that you hold the rank of captain. I acknowledge that, and you do
Do you understand that we saved your life? That we just saved your life of everybody else who's currently in this room?
Yes, I suppose.
I'm thinking maybe you should...
Talk.
I'm just thinking maybe you should hand us back a little bit of that generosity before I forget what generosity is like.
Yes, right you are. Well, I suppose it's going to become common knowledge when the Dominance gets into harbour. The king has decided to convert Saltmarsh into a fortified port as we're expanding control.
Saltmarsh? The king? You joking?
No, as a matter of fact, his decision is to completely dominate the Azure Sea in terms of trade. We're not getting much luck from the elves. The dwarves are with us, hence the Thordanish ship, the small...
And you need to squash Saltmarsh because Saltmarsh is doing a lot more trade than your navy is doing, isn't it?
Well, we're not squashing Saltmarsh, we're reinforcing it. We're building a
Oh,
garrison.
you'll be doing quite a lot of squashing. I don't think Saltmarsh is going to be very receptive to whatever it is you've got going.
Well, Saltmarsh is part of the kingdom. Quite frankly, they don't really have a choice on the matter. They're loyal to the crown, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yes.
Does Saltmarsh know it's part of the kingdom?
Well, it should.
It certainly has its opinions on the matter. Either
Well,
way.
I can't really speak to that. I'm just a lieutenant in this whole thing. As this conversation is happening, Lahuna, what are you doing? You're helping repair work and that sort of thing. The ship is getting to a point where you've kind of cleared as much of the clutter as you can. You think you're getting it to the point where now it's just the gigantic mast. There is that, and this is a horrid pun to use, there is that sinking feeling that you're going to have to cut the mast away completely and build a new one from the keel up, basically, which is a good couple weeks in a dry dock somewhere, unless you can find a mage who will cost you a small fortune to repair the ship.
And our small mage can't do the trick, I assume. Where is Flick?
Small mage and a big fortune?
So we're in some fog, yes, and the other ship is the Dominance.
Correct.
And
Well, you don't know that at the moment. But yes, the other,
No,
you
no,
just
no.
know the other
Well,
ship is
the
there.
other ship.
Yes.
And they're off in the fog. Can we see? And there's a rope going off.
There
into
is a
the-
rope. Yes, they are a good 65 foot away from the front of your ship. You can vaguely see their outline, but that's about it.
Who is the other most? Who is a very dexterous crew member on board?
The most dexterous crew member, sorry, my notes are obscuring something here, that would probably be Snikt. Snikt is a landborn kobold, and Snikt is probably the most dexterous.
I'm going to go over to Snikt.
He looks at you, and unlike Morley, whose tail wags when you approach, Snick looks at you, and the scales on the back of his neck involuntarily rise up as he looks at his aquatic cousin of sorts.
So, are you in any chance bored? Do you want a job to do?
He's currently holding 2 pieces of mast in his hand.
Really fun.
What you want?
Well, I was thinking, we're still attached to the other ship, yes?
Is that your
With a
brilliant
rope.
mage training speaking?
Yes. How did you know? Anyway, so what we need to do, or what I think we should do, is we should go over to the other ship.
Is that an order?
Yes.
Can I hear this?
Give me a perception check, please.
Pray, people, pray. Perception -1.
Nope. You are busy. There's banging, there's swearing coming from Jagsy, there's all kinds of things happening.
Barnacles!
And what do I do when I get to the other ship?
Well, we'll figure it out as we go along.
As you go along.
Well,
You're
yeah, I'll go
coming
with you. Yeah. You go first. We'll tie a rope to one another, so if we fall off the rope, the other one catches the other one, and then, see, smart, and then we'll continue on, and when we're going to try and see what the other ship's doing.
Give me an insight check. He he gives you this really toothy grin.
Yeah. Smart having you hanging from a rope that I've got control over whilst we're out in the ocean. I like it a lot. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, okay, come on, let's go.
He ties rope around himself, ties rope around you, and the 2 little kobolds, well, Seabold and Kobold, scamper over to this ballista line that's
I'm
hanging
trying to
there.
be sneaky as well, so do you want me to roll stealth?
You don't have to roll stealth. Everybody's busy and engaged with repairing the ship. Jagsy, what are you doing? You're getting to the same conclusion that Lahuna came to. The mast is going to have to be completely replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing will basically need to go into dry dock, and that'll take a while. Oh, well, once we get into Saltmarsh, it'll be a lot easier, and it'll be much easier to explain, especially when they see that harpoon over there being stuck into the back of the... And then I look over to the harpoon, and do I see the 2 of them?
Give me a perception check.
I'm trying. Come on. You're a ranger. Act like it. That's not acting like it.
Well, you certainly act like a ranger who is definitely not looking in any direction. You kind of glance over at the ballista. You can see the 2 kobolds, well, the Seabold and the Kobold, the very blue scales and then the very bronze scales, red scales of the other kobold, busy tying stuff together and tying things around each other. And
Oi, Flick!
You're looking over.
Good job.
elsewhere. So yeah, you don't.
Thank you.
All right, back below deck where the captain is interrogating Mr. Tarquin. Yes, any other questions for him? He does seem to be losing consciousness a little bit. Indigo, you going to try anything?
I'm leaning forward and I'm looking at his eyes and testing whether his skull's everything okay with it.
All right, give me another medicine check. Let's see if you can cure him this time.
Oh, that's much better.
Ah! He's not dying. He has concussion. He'll be fine. He just needs to sleep it off.
He will be fine, Captain, I think. Whatever was wrong with him has abated. It might have to do with the undead creature or something like that. He hit his head.
Death, do you saying?
Yes. The
Good.
shadow of death was upon him, but it has left.
Well, that's jolly good news, isn't it?
Well,
Shadow.
Yes.
glad we have you on board.
What?
He just needs rest.
You. Why were you attacking this thing in the first place?
Oh, we weren't.
Before you- You weren't.
No. Insofar as much as I can tell you, we were meeting with the dwarves, effectively to conduct naval exercises, when all of a sudden this thing just rose up underneath us. Damnedest thing.
You hadn't started firing? You didn't do anything to provoke it?
No, I fired something underneath the water. No, we were
But
firing.
when you
at
fire
target.
something on the ocean, it tends to end up underwater sooner or later, don't you think?
Well, to a degree. We were just comparing the range that the dwarvish armaments have against our own ships. We'd put some buoys out, good 500 or 600 feet away from the ships. We were just firing at them. To be perfectly honest with you, for the aquatic component was only supposed to start tomorrow. To be perfectly honest with you,
Aquatic component.
no depth charges and the like, barrels, full
Right.
and cinderies.
Right.
And
The usual dwarven stuff. I get it.
absolutely, yes.
Right. Well, you rest. We're in the wake of your dominance. So,
she made it. That's good news.
well, she's still floating at least.
Ah.
And we have a few others of the sailors around here.
Yes, I see that. Jolly good fine fellows they are. Don't know their names, but I'm sure they're jolly fine fellows.
Well,
I don't suppose
I'm
if you
sure
know
you-
if the Admiral survived.
no.
Ah, bit of a pity that. Well, I hope he
Well,
did. If you do get word of the Admiral, I'd be awfully indebted to you if you were to tell me.
If he sticks his head above the back of his ship, I'm sure I'll have word with him.
Fantastic, excellent. Thank you for the rescue once again. You have done a great service to your country, and I'm sure your king will
Yes,
thank
well, if you could tell your admiral that when you meet him again, and how grateful you are, and all the ones we just saved the lives of, that would be thanks enough, I feel.
you. Yes, of course, absolutely. Oh, without a doubt. Don't you worry, I'll put it all in my report. Absolutely.
Good.
Indigo, you want to say something?
Tarquin, how
Yes.
can you say you know not what that was if it was one of your kind steering it?
I don't follow, I'm afraid.
There was a man, I think it was a man,
Was it?
on the Hunger of the Deep, and he was steering it, and he was human, and he wore a uniform like yours.
Look, Indigo, I don't know how well you know humans, but when they look like that, they've been dead for quite a while.
Oh, you don't have grey or greenish skin. That
No,
is
we
true.
don't have great. You're the ship's physician. At this point, I am a little concerned that you don't know this.
You said I was to be the surgeon.
You said
I never said I would. I told you I can heal, and that is true.
yes. Well, just if my skin ever turns green in your care, just try to make it go back the way it was.
I don't suppose you saw where my Pegasus crashed, did you?
No, it's up on deck.
And
It's
how is
fine.
Daphne?
She has a broken wing.
But otherwise, she'll be all right.
Victor just shakes his head and walks out of there.
You're not going to eat her, are you? I should hope not.
We are not planning on eating her, but sometimes
fantastic.
things happen if you have a Shah Khan on board.
No, I implore you. Daphne did nothing wrong. She has been loyal and a great mount, and she's only 2.
She's so young.
I
I promised her I'd look out for her, and I will try.
I beseech you, madam, as angelically charming as you are, if you could save Daphne, I would give you a month's wages. I would.
Is that much?
Well, I suppose it's only a lieutenant's salary, but it's certainly it's more than what a sailor would get.
No, do not give me money, but what do you think about our captain?
Seems to be a fine sort of gentleman, I hope.
Oh, yes.
Loyal to his word, that sort of thing. Not prone to throwing injured people off overboard.
No, not at all.
Good.
We will talk later. I will take care of Daphne.
I am in your debt.
You are.
Flick, you and the kobold are busy scampering across that rope. I'm going to ask you to give me a acrobatics check, if you please. You have advantage on the roll because you are tied to a kobold who apparently cannot climb to save his miserable life.
Oh no.
Hey. Oh wait, I need to do the. Yes.
To be fair, he is an aquatic kobold.
You are skipping along that rope, and Snicked is climbing along it, but he seems more interested in watching where you are, and there's a look on his face of anticipation of you dropping into the water, to the point that he misplaces his handhold, and it is you who now have to take the strain of this kobold hanging below you as you're trying to climb across. It's not difficult. He doesn't weigh very much, but
I'm very weak, so.
give me a strength check. Give me a strength check as you try and hold on.
Hold on. You'll be all right. Don't worry. I'll pull you up.
Or not. It's you or him. It's you or him. You're down to the hand, and then it's one.
I'm gonna have to cut the rope.
I knew you didn't like me. I knew it. I knew it. Curse upon you.
I'm sorry.
You cut the rope. Snicked gives you this look of hatred and defiance as he drops into the dark water, which rolls him around a few times. You then see something that you didn't expect. This green fin. Not a shark fin. It's ribbed with skin in between it. Suddenly darts out from underneath the second chance and just rips Snicked into bloody pieces before disappearing below the waves. You can give me a nature check with disadvantage.
Oh dear. I think he died.
Yes. That's an astute observation there, Doctor.
Did you say disadvantage?
With disadvantage, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever that green fin was, you're not sure. You're not sure. It didn't look like a shark.
Bad thing.
Just a bad thing that causes lots of blood. You carry along the rope, however, or are you going back to the second chance?
Oh no, I'm carrying on.
All right. You come scampering up to the other side. You get to the broken hull. You can have the choice of either dropping down into what looks to be the remains of a captain's quarters. It's quite lavish. Or climbing up onto the after deck, which would lead you directly to Helm and whoever is sailing the ship currently.
Well, I want to find out information. Probably be in the captain's quarters.
He goes to the captain's quarters.
Lahuna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hanged, aren't I?
oh, if I could face palm right now, I would, but my hands are locked in terror. My hands are locked in terror. Lahuna, what are you doing?
Lahuna has been jollying everyone up, assisting people, checking that everybody on deck is all right. She's pretty sure the masters had it, so she sent some people to go and retrieve what they can of the rigging and the sail.
Yes.
Which is just kind of hanging in the water, and she doesn't want it to get more damaged.
Right.
And she has organised a barbershop quartet for the karaoke tonight. So it's all wins. And since the deck is organised and nobody seems to be in imminent danger and everyone seems to be working with a smile, at least until she turns her back, she sort of gallops down to the stairs to go under deck to go and help Indigo, because Indigo loves her help.
All right, you're going down
Hi,
again.
Indigo!
Yes, you will find Indigo. Well, you were heading out to save Daphne.
Do I pass Victor on the way?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so if I pass Victor, I will stop, of course. Well, Captain, I would say that the masters had it. The mast is passed. The crew are absolutely fine. We have no severe casualties. Everybody we got up.
Except for the dead one.
Which dead one?
The one that got impaled by the mast.
No casualties that we brought up from the water.
Right.
Unfortunately, our Warborn is now war-torn. He's gone. Sadly, he is
not the time for puns, first mate. But how are things looking otherwise? Is the ship holding together?
The ship is going to need some dry dock time.
Yes.
And I know how you love dry dock time.
When I said that we were going to Saltmarsh, I was absolutely not imagining being stuck there for a week without my ship.
Well, look, at least this time, our insides are not on our outsides, all right? It can't be as bad as the last time we went there.
Yes, well, yet.
So how is Indigo's shop of joy?
They seem mostly alive down there.
And the one that fell from the sky? I mean, I didn't expect it to be raining men.
His name's First Lieutenant Tarquin.
Ooh, fancy.
Yes.
He's still in one piece, despite Indigo? I mean, because of Indigo?
One of those, yes. Look, I'm going to go up top and see what I can do about securing that rope into something better than the mast, but you continue doing your thing. You know what to do.
Right, you are,
All
Captain.
right. And that Flick, you climb into this cabin's quarters. Give me a perception check very quickly.
I am trying to be sneaky. Just
Sure.
putting
Okay, give
that
me a
out there.
stealth check and then a perception check very quickly. Yep, you're absolutely stealthy. You are the knight. As you land on a table, which you were convinced would hold your weight and the whole thing crashes to the ground, you look up in time to see this very large saber pointed directly at your head, and this very old man, who's quite injured, looking at you, and he says, "What are you doing on my ship?" And that is where we end today's session. We will return next week for more adventures of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Sponsorship love. Thank you to worldanvil.com. Thank you to dungeonfog.com. Thank you to fantasygrounds.com. Thank you to Dungeons and Dragons for hosting us. And of course, thank you to my wonderful players, all of you. And thank you to you watching. Remember, the treasure hunt is on www.greatgamemaster.com, as well as we are doing a Below Decks, which happens in about 10 minutes on twitch.tv/greatgm. Join us there, Great GM, where we're going to chat to the crew and the cast about, well, everything that's been going on. Until next week, however, I want to say thank you, everybody, and goodbye.